Good morning, folks. It's Thursday, June 15th, the morning after ECB. Got a lot of macro stuff to talk about. Just a little with the schedule first. 12 p.m. today. Be back here 12 p.m. today. We're going to have Rex Man here from Rockspear Trading. We're going to cover story trading stocks and do his unique technical analysis on story trading stocks. We'll also look at the macro. So yesterday we had the Fed decision. I'll talk about that in a sec. Today we also had ECB, European Central Bank, raising rates. Fed paused yesterday, but ECB raised rates by 0.25. China cut rates. And then we also had unemployment coming in this morning. Jobless claims coming in. Jobless claims worse than expected, 262,000 versus 245,000. So those are all the key macro points to think about. Now, I've been talking for a long time, waiting for a correction. I still think we're very susceptible to a correction. Simply forget about the macro, forget about your thesis. But when you go up sharply this much, at some point you got to pull back and maybe make a move towards the 20 DMA. So what's the trigger for that? And I said yesterday morning, I think on the show, that the FOMC meeting is as good of a time as any to be a trigger, right? At some point, you're going to look at every catalyst with a negative lens, right? If markets are getting very expensive, you're going to say, okay, what can I see negative in this? And use that as an excuse to push things down. Was that yesterday? It very well could be. All I know is that the risk increases as the stocks keep going up. Okay. So, but I'll tell you this, yesterday, for the first time, look, I was, if you were part of our community before we had our app, in our WhatsApp community, it was right here in November of 2021, right? Literally, it was the top of this candle right before that big spike down. I missed that peak here. But in November 2021, I sounded the alarm in our community and I became very bearish stocks. And I said, this looks like it could be the dot-com bust. And that's basically what we got in risk assets. We got the dot-com bust. And I've been bearish ever since. Okay, macroeconomically, I've been bearish ever since. And yesterday, for the first time, I changed my mind. Right, for the first time, I am now bullish, intermediate to long term, based on the economic data and the presser that Powell gave, because it's all about interest rates. Why did I get bearish here? It was because inflation started coming more in the news. I'm sorry, it was here. It was like inflation was really coming to the forefront of the conversation, and I expected that they were going to be raising interest rates, and that's why I got really bearish on this. And all right, so now we have to think about interest rates, and I'm trying to read into Powell's commentary yesterday. Yes, we all knew they were going to pause, all right, but the question is, what do they do after that? So for me, I'm subjectively just interpreting the commentary from Powell, and to me, it looked like he wants to basically indefinitely pause. To me, it looks like he thinks the job may be done. Again, this is just my subjective analysis, just based on his phrasing and what words he was emphasizing and things like that, that I got the feeling that he was kind of, his colleagues were like, yeah, we may want to raise after that, but he really didn't want to. He really just wants to pause and see how it goes, and maybe there's a possibility they never have to raise again, right? And that's where I felt Powell was at. Plus, a big data point in there is that it looks like recession is no longer the base case. For a long time, ever since that ARKK that I showed you, that November 2021, I was thinking recession was the base case. At this point, I'm growing increasingly optimistic that we can get out of this without a recession. They're still talking about now the GDP. The GDP forecast was increased, and they're talking about a 1% increase next year in GDP. So I'm getting increasingly optimistic that we can avoid. And part of that is because we have the inflation. It's hard to get a recession when you have so much inflation, right? So maybe we have the perfect amount of inflation or something to be able to get out of this without a recession. So for the first time, I'm now intermediate to long-term bullish. QQQ, SPY, ARKK, etc. But I am still very, very wary about a correction. And if you're not positioned right, you can be, right about the longer term. You can be, optimistic about everything. But if you're not positioned correctly, if you have leverage, if you have call options at the wrong time, you can get completely blown out of your portfolio. So you have to be careful and be positioned for the risk of a possible corrective pullback to whatever levels you find here. 20 DMA is always something to consider in a acute bull market. You can see the 20 DMA on QQQ is down here at 350. I also have to look at the other candles up here. So it looks like 356 for a few candles, 3-4 candles in a row was resistance, and now that can become support over here also, like 356. So you have a couple levels here, but you always have to worry about a corrective pullback to the 20 DMA when you've been up so sharply. All right. And ARKK, by the way, if we get a pullback, this is like really bullish to me because this is a weekly candles. Look at this 2050 bullish cross that we're getting right now in ARKK. And I was already very bullish once we closed the 50-week MA. But wow, how nice would it be right here if it pulled back to about $40 or $39.80, wherever that is, that 50-week MA and the 20-week MA? I think that'll be a buying opportunity. So I think pullbacks are going to be buying opportunities. You just got to watch the magnitude of the pullback and be careful and position, consider your risk and position accordingly. And, don't go all one way. You got to be careful. All right. I also want to point out that China, I said China cut. So China cut rates, and that's why you see KWEB ETF, a China ETF, up 1.7% because they cut rate because of they have bad economic data over there. Unemployment rate is really high, especially among the youth, like 20% or something unemployment rate among the youth. So over there, bad news is good news because the bad news led to a China rate cut. Maybe some diversification can help your portfolio here if you have some exposure to China, and KWEB might be a good way of playing that. One other thing I want to point out, which is why I'm bullish, is through everything that happened yesterday and this correction this morning, the VIX is still at 14. I see here it's up this morning 1.4%, which is nothing. VIX is at 14. So the VIX is relatively stable while the markets are correcting over here. To me, that's a good sign that a correction, a pullback in the markets is not like a panicky thing that, oh my gosh, I got to get out of stocks, the sky's falling, but simply, just a technical thing a logistical thing that has to happen, right? We're just moving money around, take profits from here, put it over there, right? It's not like a panicky kind of crash right now. That's the other reason intermediate to long-term bullish now in stocks. All right, let's go look at individual stocks. And one of the ones I've been bearish on yesterday, Vegas and I had opposing views on this, but I thought that this was going to break that 255 support she was talking about and then head to 250, which it did. Now, the other supports here, 242 and then 235. So I still think Tesla is headed to 242 and 235. Look at this very hard RSI, and it's turning down. RSI of 90, 80, like that's not sustainable. So I think, and you got this gap to fill possibly here, 235. So watch Tesla for a possible short. Now, NVIDIA, even though the RSI is only 74, so interesting, isn't it? Wow. RSI pulled back from 90 to 63 in that little correction to 378. And now, wow, this is so freaking bullish because look at this. You have your RSI. The stock went to a higher level here, okay, than the previous high, but the RSI is at a lower level. So as the stock is rising, it's becoming more oversold. Do you see that? Like I look for divergences like this. This is like a divergence, RSI and price divergence. This is kind of rare to see that. So this is a bullish sign, right? That the stock is higher than it was before, but it's more oversold than before. That's crazy. Okay. Any case, so yesterday I told you, so I got diverging views on Tesla and NVIDIA. Yesterday I'm like, watch 420. If we break 420, that's a cup breakout, right? Cup breakout, and I gave you a target of about 450 on that. All right. Could go higher. I can't like really chart easily when you're at all new time highs. I don't have your moving averages. I don't have previous historical candles. I'm just kind of measuring with my eye based on experience. Like when you have a cup breakout, like what kind of candle can that look like? And I'm just kind of estimating 450 and looking at big whole numbers, right? But it could be higher than that. This is where those Fibonacci lines can help. So we'll talk to Rex today at 12 p.m. Look at his Fibonacci charting to see where this cup and handle breakout can end up. But wow, bullish. So interesting, right? That I'm bearish Tesla and bullish NVIDIA right now. And then if we look at other stocks, you can see the pullback really hurting the stocks that have been up the most. So SOFI, look at that. Look at this huge move SOFI's been on. Look at this huge move that Plug has been on. It's correcting. Palantir, another one. I'm assuming it's. Look at that huge run. So now susceptible to the support candles here, about 14.29. 15 some support. And so you're seeing big corrections in stocks that have run up big. So where can you hide? What's safe? So I'm going to give you a couple ideas. Actually, before I give you this couple ideas, just some news I have to cover on 3 stocks. Okay, TUSK, TUSK. This is a stock that was given to us in our community on our watch list regarding a big payment that Puerto Rico owes them. $387 million. That Puerto Rico owns them. Now, the market cap of this company is 210 million. So that's obviously very significant that Puerto Rico owes them 387 million. They got 11 million this morning. 11 million is worth about 5% in market cap to the company. Now, company is down this morning 2%. It's been kind of moving with XLE though, so you have to think about that. But I'm not jumping on this because I don't. A couple of reasons. The stock's been up this right before this. So was it leaked that they're going to get 11 million? Something to think about, right? In the last month, it's been up, although it's been again kind of following XLE. But here's the other thing: 11 million, is that good news or bad news if you're owed 387 million? Right. On the one hand, people can say, okay, we're starting to get paid. Maybe we're going to get the other 370 million now, 375 million. But on the negative side, someone can come say, oh, that's all we got as the first payment, right? I don't know if it's the first payment or second. I don't know what the history of the payments are, but we only got 11 million out of 387 million. Like, I don't know if we're really going to get paid from Puerto Rico. So I'm staying away from this, but just letting you know the news because I know that I forgot if it's Matt or Chris who told us about this. But maybe they'll give us an update on what they think about TUSK. Then we got some news on INVE, Identiv, which is a stock that we've interviewed the CEO, Steve Humphries, many times. Solid little company, but they've always been struggling to inflect to profitability, always on the cusp. They have a little quarter with like 2 cent profit, then minus 2 cents, 2 cent profit, minus 2 cents. So they never really broke out with their profitability. That's the issue here. But they do have some news, which looks pretty interesting. And I'm not going to make a bet on the stock here today because I don't know the full implication of this news, but it looks like it could be important. And maybe I'll reach out to management and schedule an interview. Access Control Solutions granted a FedRAMP marketplace authorization. If you read through this, it talks about how now the government can easily order quickly because they're in this database of offerings are approved, and it's now going to be very easy for them to order. So they talk about that. But I think it's worth a conversation with management to say, do you expect how important is this to your company? What kind of volume do you expect from the government? So those are questions to ask. I'm not going to jump on it today. It might fly if it's really important. I just don't know, so I can't make that bet. All right. And then POWW had earnings last night. It was a beat on the top line. And if you annualize this, I was on the show last night when this came out. If you analyze the quarter, it comes to a slap of 20 PE on it comes to $2.40 re-rating. And last night it quickly re-rated to 240. We jumped in that. We went to 248. Took a quick scalp and took it off. But they didn't give guidance. That's why that was just the quarter. There was no guidance in the press release. I jumped on the conference call, and the conference call seemed a little bit negative. There's just a lot of talk about margin pressure that they were dealing with and challenges regarding margin pressure and product mix and and apparently like during COVID, there was a boom and they're still dealing with that and trying to like restructure their product mix and the channels they're selling through and margin pressure. There's just a lot of talk about that. So it didn't seem like something that I wanted to keep or jump on. All right. Now, what stocks? We got to talk fast because Vegas is going to be here. What kind of stocks do I feel most comfortable holding through this? Like stocks like, Tesla, and we sold all our Tesla. Actually, I think we're short a little Tesla now. So stocks like Tesla and Palantir, like I'll be nervous about pullbacks on stocks like that. I'd want to be in stocks that didn't go up a lot, right? And importantly, have catalysts coming up in the next immediate period. So let's say we have a correction over the next few days or week or two. I want to be in a stock where people expect significant news in the next few days or week or two, and that hasn't gone up a lot. 3 stocks fit that bill here for me. DRIO, APRN, and LLAP. So DRIO, we're expecting massive news from Aetna any day, at least before July 1st. And the stock hasn't gone up a lot. Yeah, it's up, but really not much, right? And you got support here at the 20 DMA at $4. So this is something I have no qualms about holding my full position, despite a possible market correction that could get ugly for some of the bigger caps. And then we have APRN, which, had that big move Friday. But if I had a full chart, I could show you, which I don't because TD doesn't do it right. It really hasn't gone up a lot in the last month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. In fact, it's probably where it was like a month ago, APRN. So, and we're waiting massive game-changing news. And I can't cover it all right here again. But man, I've recorded a dedicated show just for APRN so we can have it in our archives. But I'm expecting very significant news over the next few days to few weeks that could take the stock up 2 to 3 times. My target on this is 15 to $25 is my target on APRN, based on the technicals and the fundamentals. But we got to wait for that catalyst to happen. So that's another one I feel comfortable holding through a market correction. Here's another one, LLAP, and look, it's actually green this morning. So LLAP, we got massive event coming end of June. It's June 15th. Okay, end of June, you're going to get a decision from the ITU in just a couple of weeks. All right, I think the decision will formally come down July 5th or July 6th, but it should leak out like in the last week of June. We're talking about $2.4 billion coming to LLAP if they get approval. Market cap's $219 million, folks. If this thing gets approved, you're talking about a $5, $10 stock in the next year and a half, or maybe even less. So this is something that I expect event anticipation run into the event. It's a big risk holding it. They could get rejected. But as far as now through the end of the month, I expect the stock to maybe the bottom's in for now here, and maybe we can have some upside FOMO event anticipation move in LLAP. Speaking of like event anticipation moves, if you're a VIP and you heard our show with Chris Tuttle yesterday, you'll know we talked about a few stocks that have events coming up. So go take a look at that recording. It's in the archives. I think we talked about DocGo and ATMU. Stocks like that are going to be safer to hold through a possible correction here. Okay. And then we head back over to, even Illumina. This is the last one because Vegas just got here. But Illumina I also like because of the CEO that was just ousted, and it's a biotech, and it hasn't moved up a lot. So you got lots of factors of safety over here that's not going to be necessarily correlated with if we do get a big cap tech correction. I don't think ILMN will be correlated with that. And I'm happy to hold this. I've been talking about a possible break above these key moving averages towards the 220s. So I'm holding for that possibility. And with that, let's bring on Vegas. Good morning, Vegas.
Good morning. How is everyone doing?
Doing good over here. Doing good. We're on the opposite sides of the Tesla trade. We shorted Tesla yesterday. So far, happy with that, down 2.5%. But what's going on with you? How do you handle this market where you see a pullback in the morning? Are you worried about a market correction? How are you playing it?
No, I'm not worried about a correction. I think the market's still healthy overall. The sentiment's still very strong. You see a lot of stocks are still making 52-week highs. A lot of bullish charts out there like Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta. They're all strong. So, yeah. Listen, they've had some great runs. There's nothing wrong with the pullback.
Right.
And definitely want to see, an opportunity for these to continue. Now, don't forget, we have OPEX and quad witching tomorrow. So there'll be some volatility in the markets and a lot of rebalancing and maybe some volatility next week, maybe for the first half of the week. And then I think we'll maybe have a good, maybe towards a strong close. Also don't forget, we're heading into a new month in July. So the next couple of weeks we'll be into a new month. And you know what? When you're in a new month, you have a new quarter. You have new cash coming into the market. So
wow,
definitely, yeah. So you have to, I think July will be actually a pretty good month. So definitely, take advantage of the fact that if there's any kind of like pullbacks even next week, there's going to be a lot of stocks in viable ranges. So nothing wrong to, always chart the weeklies, make sure the supports are there. And if there's any pullbacks on the support levels, look at them as opportunities. And, especially if you do stocks or if you do options, you have to definitely take at least 2 months out to obviously benefit from buying those dips. So I will say, so my focus today in terms of stocks I'm watching, I am watching AMD. It is over this 123.87. So this can go to 126.54 on AMD. And watching Netflix is over this 444.48. If it breaks 444.90, this has room to like 453. And that was kind of my target. Sorry?
bucking the trend this morning. It's green this morning.
Yeah, very nice. And so target's been, 450, and we could probably see 453 on
Nice.
Netflix. So I would say Netflix would be a really good one because of
Yeah.
the momentum is there. So that's a really good one.
And I've been hearing them in the news a lot lately. I don't know if there's a specific catalyst, but it's on the news. Like I'm just driving and stuff. They're talking about the password sharing. It's like been a success for them.
Yeah, the crackdown's been good.
Hitting the wires constantly.
Yeah, people are like, you know what? I can't share the password anymore. Let me just get my own Netflix account. You know what? Listen, Netflix, honestly, they don't charge much. Okay, so it's cheaper than cable. So I mean, honestly, for you to get Netflix and you get all these movies and TV shows, and some of these shows, oh my God, you get like hooked on them that you don't want to keep watching them. Like I got hooked on one show and I was watching it till like 2 a.m. Like all these series. I'm like, oh my gosh. So you know what? It is a reasonable price, I think, the product. So if you can't afford cable, people get Netflix. They love it. At least you have Wi-Fi. You can watch Netflix. So anyways, so I would say my focus is Netflix. I'm also watching Square. It's over 63.02, room to almost 65 on Square. And last one's Baba. Watching this one over 91.29.
Baba, the K-Web stocks, the China stocks are hot this morning because they cut their interest rates over there.
Yeah, in China. Yeah,
overnight.
So I would expect to come back in the China stocks as well. So looking to take advantage.
Yeah.
So.
We're generally on the same page. I think I'm pretty bullish. I talked about last night and this morning. I'm bullish intermediate and long term for really the first time in a couple years.
Ooh,
but
that is shocking coming from you.
It is shocking coming from me. But I still like to play corrective pullback. So that's why I'm short Tesla. We're long NVIDIA though. NVIDIA, man, you didn't talk about it much today, but I'm looking for 450 plus on that. What's your take on NVIDIA?
Well, I've been bullish on NVIDIA. My target's always been 450. I saw so many sweepers come in yesterday for $500 strike this week and next week. Like some serious money coming in. So not going to be surprised to see that we can get there. I'm not sure about this month, the month of June, but maybe definitely in July. And, we're heading into earnings season as well as we start the new quarter in July. And NVIDIA will have earnings again in August, and I think they'll smash it. So I think people are in for a big surprise of what's going to happen with that stock longer term.
I'm going to show you a neat thing with the technicals, and I'll let you go. Look at this RSI. This is so fascinating.
Are you talking about NVIDIA?
Yeah. This RSI was like close to 90 when the stock hit 419 the other week. And now the RSI is lower. Even though the stock is above it, it beat that, and the price is higher. The RSI is actually lower, which is indicating the stock is, oversold as it's going up. That's a rare kind of mix I look for in technicals. I don't see that often.
So does that make you a buyer?
Yeah.
You think the dips are going to get bought? I think the dips are going to get bought.
Yeah, we actually bought it. I actually bought it yesterday at like 420 when it broke.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As I said to you, Joseph was asking me, and I said, I think, dips are getting bought, and they were. I mean, look, the thing just took off.
Yeah.
So hopefully made some good money there, but definitely, like as a reminder, this 52-week closing high. It's had an expansion breakout. It's definitely, if you look at the stochastics, could be a little bit overbought, but let me say, this is a powerhouse, and this is not ready to head downhill. So it's had a pullback this morning, but I think the pullback is viable. My personal opinion, I'm not telling anyone out here, go buy NVIDIA, make sure you do your own due diligence. You got to know what you're doing. But I do like the pullbacks. I think they're healthy pullbacks. I view them as opportunities for sure. So I'd love to see NVIDIA make a move today.
Awesome. We'll be back at 12 p.m. in case you want to watch with Rexman. Rexman's awesome. And then make sure to follow Vegas at I Love Stocks 1 on Twitter.
I want to see Rexman today. I'll come by. Okay.
Sounds so good.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ben. Have a great day. Bye.